The morning sun bathed the courtyard in a warm, golden light, casting long shadows across the stone floor. Monks moved silently, their robes whispering against the ground, each absorbed in their meditative tasks. I sat under the ancient Bodhi tree, my thoughts heavy with a persistent sense of loneliness. Despite the presence of my brethren, an aching void had taken root in my heart. Defying the serene environment, the Buddha appeared in the courtyard, his steps deliberate, his gaze serene yet piercing. As he approached, his presence seemed to envelop the space with a profound stillness. Bowing deeply, I greeted him, seeking solace in his wisdom, hoping he might illuminate the darkness within me. "Buddha," I began, my voice trembling slightly. "Though I am surrounded by many, I feel a deep and unshakable loneliness." He sat beside me, his posture effortlessly composed, his eyes reflecting a boundless compassion that seemed to penetrate my soul. "Ananda," he began, his voice calm yet resonant, "loneliness is not the absence of people but the absence of connection within." His words struck a chord, and I felt a flicker of recognition, though the meaning eluded me fully at that moment. He gestured to the courtyard, his hand tracing the delicate interplay of shadows and sunlight on the ground. "Look at the stones beneath your feet," he said. "Even these are part of the same earth that nurtures the trees and supports the mountains." I followed his gaze, seeing the stones anew, their presence imbued with an unspoken connection to the world. "Master," I ventured, "how do these stones relate to the loneliness I feel inside?" The Buddha smiled gently, his expression a mixture of patience and encouragement. "Ananda, everything in existence is bound by an invisible thread of interconnectedness. To see it is to dissolve separation." I contemplated his words, my heart yearning to grasp the deeper truth he so eloquently conveyed. Sensing my struggle, the Buddha placed his hand lightly on my shoulder, grounding me in his steady presence. "Imagine the wind," he said, his voice carrying a meditative rhythm, "as it moves through the leaves, creating music in its wake." I closed my eyes, attuning my senses to the breeze as it rustled the branches of the Bodhi tree above. "The wind does not ask for acknowledgement," he continued. "It simply flows, embracing everything in its path without seeking validation." His words painted a vivid picture, yet the connection to my loneliness remained elusive. "But Buddha," I said, "how can I, as a human, embrace connection without the presence of others to fill the void?" He paused, his gaze fixed on the horizon where the sky met the distant hills, his expression unfathomable yet serene. "Ananda," he finally said, "start not with others but with yourself. In the quiet depths of your being lies boundless connection." I felt a stir within me, a gentle shift as if his words had reached a place long hidden from my awareness. "The separation you feel," he explained, "is born of the illusion that you are isolated from the fabric of existence." His words unfolded like petals of a flower, revealing layers of meaning that beckon deeper reflection. "How can I dissolve this illusion?" I asked, my voice laced with both curiosity and hope. The Buddha smiled again, his expression a mirror of compassion that seemed to hold the answer itself. "Begin with mindfulness," he said. "Feel the air as you breathe, the earth as it supports you, the sun as it warms." I followed his guidance, turning my attention inward, becoming acutely aware of the sensations that tethered me to the present moment. "The key," he continued, "is to embrace each experience as part of the whole, not as separate fragments of life." His words resonated, offering a glimpse into the intricate web of unity he described. Yet doubt lingered in my heart. "Buddha," I said, "I fear that my own mind creates barriers that keep me from seeing this unity clearly." He nodded, his acknowledgement of my struggle a source of comfort that eased the weight of my doubts. "Ananda," he said, "your mind is both the barrier and the gateway. Approach it with kindness and patience. and the path will reveal itself. His wisdom, so profound in its simplicity, felt like a lantern illuminating the obscurity of my inner world. The courtyard seemed to transform as his teachings took root within me, each stone and shadow reflecting the interwoven nature of existence. I began to see the monks not as separate beings but as threads in a shared tapestry of life. As the sun reached its zenith, casting its light across the monastery walls, a sense of peace began to emerge. "Buddha," I said, "your words have sown seeds of understanding in my heart. How can I nurture them to grow fully?" He stood, his movements as fluid as the flowing river, and gestured for me to rise and follow him. "Come, Ananda," he said, "let us walk together and observe the world as it truly is." A living lesson in connection. I rose, the heaviness in my heart giving way to a sense of possibility, and followed him into the unfolding day. Another day. The sun rose over the monastery, painting the walls in hues of amber and gold. Monks moved gracefully, their silent footsteps weaving a melody of discipline and purpose. I sat by the riverbank, my reflection shimmering alongside the gentle ripples of the water. Despite the tranquility, my thoughts were troubled by the stories of sorrow and loss shared by the villagers. A widow named Kamala arrived, her face etched with the marks of grief and loneliness. Bowing deeply, she approached the Buddha, who sat nearby, his gaze fixed on the dancing light upon the water. "Master," she began, her voice trembling, "my heart is heavy with loss, and my solitude is unbearable." The Buddha turned to Kamala, his expression soft and compassionate, his presence radiating an unspoken sense of solace. "Kamala," he said, his voice steady, "the pain you feel is a reminder of the love that once filled your life." Kamala's tears flowed freely as she listened, her hands trembling as she clutched her simple woven shawl. "But Master," she said, "how can I bear this pain when it feels like a chasm that cannot be bridged?" The Buddha gestured to the river, its current steady and unrelenting, carrying fallen leaves to distant, unseen destinations. "Kamala," he said, "your grief is like this river. It flows, it changes, and it carries with it both sorrow and renewal." Her eyes followed the direction of his hand, the gentle motion of the water a stark contrast to her inner turmoil. "Master," she said, "what do I do with this grief that weighs down my soul and blinds me to life?" The Buddha smiled faintly, his gaze never leaving the river, which sparkled under the morning sun. "Kamala," he said, "transform your grief into compassion. Let it be the thread that connects you to the suffering of others." I observed as Kamala listened intently, her breathing slowing, her posture softening under the weight of the Buddha's words. "But Master," she asked, her voice quiet yet filled with longing, "how can I offer anything when I feel so empty and broken?" The Buddha turned to her fully, his expression firm yet kind, his voice resonant with gentle authority. "Kamala," he said, "your pain has taught you the depths of the human heart. Share your strength born from this suffering." She lowered her gaze, her fingers brushing the smooth stones beside her, their cool touch grounding her in the present moment. "Where do I begin?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper, her uncertainty evident. The Buddha's gaze softened, his voice filled with encouragement and assurance. "Begin small," he said. "Offer a kind word, extend a listening ear, share the burden of sorrow with those who suffer." His words seemed to light a spark within Kamala, a glimmer of hope that began to pierce the shadows of her despair. "Master," she said, her voice steadier now, "do you believe this will ease the emptiness in my heart?" The Buddha nodded, his expression unwavering. "Kamala," he said, "in giving to others, you will discover that your heart is not empty but vast and boundless." Her tears subsided, and for the first time since her arrival, a faint smile flickered across her lips. "Thank you, Master," she said, her voice filled with quiet resolve. "I will try to carry your teachings into my life." The Buddha gestured for her to rise. His movement fluid and graceful, a reflection of his inner serenity. "Go, Kamala," he said, "and weave the thread of compassion into the lives of those who need it most." She bowed deeply, her posture one of gratitude and humility. Before turning and walking away, her steps lighter than when she had arrived, the Buddha turned to me, his gaze penetrating and wise, as if he could see the questions forming within me. "Ananda," he said, his voice steady and deliberate, "did you see how Kamala's sorrow began to transform the moment she chose compassion?" I nodded, my heart stirred by the simplicity and power of his teaching. Yet questions lingered in my mind. "Master," I said, my voice hesitant yet eager, "how does one maintain compassion when the weight of their own suffering feels unbearable?" The Buddha smiled, his expression one of understanding, as though he had anticipated my inquiry before it was spoken. "Ananda," he said, "compassion is not an escape from suffering but a path through it, a way to transcend its confines." His words resonated deeply, touching a part of me that yearned for answers to the unspoken struggles I carried. "But Master," I asked, "how can one ensure that their acts of compassion truly ease the suffering of others?" The Buddha's gaze turned to the river once more, its current reflecting the sunlight in a dance of light and shadow. "Ananda," he said, "compassion does not require certainty, only sincerity. Even the smallest gesture can ripple outward, touching countless lives." His words painted a vivid picture, one that filled me with both inspiration and a sense of responsibility. The day wore on, the sun climbing higher into the sky, casting its warm light across the monastery grounds. Kamala's figure disappeared into the distance, her resolve a testament to the transformative power of the Buddha's teachings. As the shadows lengthened, the Buddha and I sat in silence, the gentle sound of the river a soothing backdrop to our thoughts. I pondered his words, their profound simplicity weaving a sense of clarity and purpose into the fabric of my understanding. The Buddha turned to me, his expression calm yet expectant, as though inviting me to voice the thoughts swirling within me. "Master," I finally said, "how can one inspire others to embrace compassion in their own lives?" His gaze softened, his voice steady as he replied. "Ananda," he said, "inspire through your actions, not just your words. Be the living example of what you teach." His answer resonated deeply, aligning with the lessons I had begun to learn through my own experiences. "Master," I asked, "what if one's acts of compassion are met with rejection or indifference? How should one respond?" The Buddha's expression remained unchanged, his voice calm and unyielding in its wisdom. "Ananda," he said, "true compassion is unconditional. It seeks no reward, no recognition. It is an offering of the heart, free of expectation." His words lingered in the air, their simplicity carrying a profound depth that invited reflection. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the landscape in hues of amber and crimson, I felt a sense of quiet resolution. The Buddha's teachings, shared through his interactions with Kamala, illuminated a path I had not yet fully seen. The stars began to emerge, their light reflecting on the still surface of the river, a testament to the enduring nature of connection. I sat beside the Buddha, my heart filled with a newfound sense of purpose, ready to carry his teachings into the unfolding days. Another day, the courtyard filled with laughter and chatter as villagers and monks gathered under the shade of the Bodhi tree. Children played, their energy brightening the monastery with a vibrancy that seemed to ripple outward. I observed from a distance, my heart warmed by the simple yet profound moments of shared connection unfolding before me. Among the crowd, I noticed a young woman named Sita standing alone, her face carrying a shadow of unease. Her presence, though quiet, spoke volumes of a struggle she seemed reluctant to share. Bowing deeply, she approached the Buddha, who sat serenely under the tree, his gaze steady yet inviting. "Master," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "I fear I cannot find my place among others, even in moments meant to unite us." The Buddha turned to her, his expression soft, his presence radiating a quiet understanding that seemed to calm her restless spirit. "Sita," he said, his voice gentle yet resonant, "the sense of separation you feel is not a reflection of others, but of your own heart." She lowered her gaze, her fingers nervously fidgeting with the edge of her scarf, her thoughts visibly tangled. "But Master," she said, "how do I open my heart when fear and doubt weigh it down so heavily?" The Buddha gestured to the circle of villagers, their laughter and shared stories creating a tapestry of connection that filled the courtyard. "Sita," he said, "observe these people. Their joy is not born of perfection but of their willingness to embrace one another's imperfections." His words painted a vivid picture, yet their meaning seemed elusive to Sita. Her struggle rooted deeper than she could express. "Master," she asked, her voice soft yet eager, "how does one embrace others when their own flaws feel insurmountable?" The Buddha smiled faintly, his expression a mixture of compassion and gentle encouragement. "Sita," he said, "begin by embracing yourself. Acceptance of your own imperfections is the foundation of true connection with others." She nodded slowly, her gaze turning inward as she grappled with the wisdom he offered. The path it illuminated uncertain yet promising. "Master," she said, her voice firmer now, "how do I ensure that my connections with others are genuine and not shallow?" The Buddha's gaze softened, his voice steady yet carrying an undeniable depth. "Sita," he said, "genuine connection requires vulnerability and trust. It is a shared journey, not a destination to be achieved." His words seemed to strike a chord within her, her posture relaxing slightly as their meaning began to unfold in her heart. The day wore on, the sunlight dappling the courtyard with patterns of light and shadow, the air filled with quiet harmony. Sita remained near the Buddha, her presence less burdened, her heart touched by the seeds of understanding he had sown, as the villagers shared their stories, their voices blending into a melody of unity. The Buddha's teachings came alive in their interactions. I observed, my own heart stirred by the simplicity and power of his words, their resonance extending far beyond the boundaries of the monastery. The Buddha turned to me, his gaze steady, his expression expectant, as though inviting me to reflect on the moment's significance. "Ananda," he said, his voice deliberate, "do you see how the circle of connection grows when one person opens their heart?" I nodded, my thoughts weaving through the interactions I had witnessed, their impact a testament to the truth of his teachings. "Master," I said, my voice filled with both curiosity and reverence, "how can one inspire others to join the circle of connection?" He gestured to the villagers, his movements fluid and graceful, a reflection of his inner serenity. "Ananda," he said, "inspire through your presence and actions, not just your words. Be the living example of connection's transformative power." His answer resonated deeply, aligning with the lessons I had begun to integrate into my own life. The sun reached its zenith, casting its warm light across the monastery walls, its rays a symbol of the shared humanity unfolding before us. Sita, now mingling with the villagers, appeared lighter, her laughter blending into the chorus of voices that filled the air. The Buddha's gaze turned to her, his expression one of quiet satisfaction, as though her journey reflected the essence of his teachings. "Ananda," he said, his voice calm yet purposeful, "each person who embraces connection creates ripples that extend far beyond their own lives." I pondered his words, their simplicity carrying a profound depth, their meaning unfolding in layers that invited reflection. Master, I asked, what if fear keeps someone from taking the first step toward connection? The Buddha's gaze turned inward, his expression unfathomable yet serene. Ananda, he said, fear is a natural barrier, but it is also an opportunity for courage to blossom. Begin with small steps. His words carried a quiet assurance, their meaning a guiding light for those who struggle to bridge the gap of separation. As the shadows lengthened, the villagers began to disperse, their laughter echoing faintly as they returned to their homes. The courtyard, once bustling, settled into a peaceful stillness, the hum of connection lingering in its atmosphere. The Buddha turned to me, his gaze steady, his voice carrying a tone of gentle encouragement. Ananda, he said, the circle of unity is infinite, yet it begins with one. Be that one, and the rest will follow. His words struck a chord deep within me, their simplicity a reminder of the power each individual holds to transform the world around them. The stars emerged, their light reflecting on the still surface of the river, a symbol of the enduring nature of connection. I sat beside the Buddha, my heart filled with quiet resolution, ready to carry his teachings into the unfolding days. One step at a time. The Buddha smiled, his expression one of infinite kindness and serenity. Remember, the lotus blooms not despite the mud but because of it, the Buddha reminded them. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.